What would you say if cops walked up to you right now and the first thing they said was, "We got a call. If you answer too fast, you can hand them the whole case before they ever explain why they're there." The first question out of your mouth can decide whether you walk away, get searched, or talk yourself into real trouble. Before I reveal the exact words, hit subscribe so you can find this video again when your heart is pounding and your mind goes blank. And tap like right now because this one question could save your future self from a disaster. When cops say, "We got a call," your brain wants to do the worst possible thing. You want to explain. You want to defend yourself. You want to sound innocent. That instinct is exactly what gets people trapped. In this video, you're going to learn the first question you ask before answering anything, the follow-up line that shuts down the fishing trip, the sentence that blocks a consent search, and the last line you use when they try to keep pushing. Let me show you exactly how this works in real life, because vague police contact is where a lot of good people get burned. You're also going to hear the court cases behind these tactics in plain English, so you know why they work. No lawyer talk, no weird phrases you'll forget. Just simple words you can actually remember when you're standing on a sidewalk, in a parking lot, at your front door, or next to your car with police staring at you. Now here's why this matters so much to you. "We got a call" sounds harmless, but it's a perfect opening line for police. It sounds serious enough to pressure you, but vague enough to make you start talking. Most people have no idea that this one sentence is often used to get you filling in the blanks for them. You hear it, and suddenly you start saying where you've been, who you were with, what you were doing, why your neighbor is mad, why that person is lying, why you're nervous, why you were in the area, and why they should believe you. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the pattern keeps repeating. The person who talks first usually loses first. Your goal is not to win the conversation. Your goal is to find out one thing before you say anything that can be twisted later. Are you being held, or are you free to go? The first tactic is the most important one in this whole video, and it has to come before your explanation. You look at the officer and say this: "Am I being detained, or am I free to leave?" Those exact words, memorize that line. When police say, "We got a call," they are trying to pull you into their frame before you know your status. Your question flips that pressure back where it belongs. Instead of you rushing to explain yourself, the officer now has to make the situation clear. Either you are being detained, which means they are claiming a legal reason to hold you, or you are free to leave, which means the conversation is voluntary and you can end it. Listen closely because this is critical. You do not ask this in a sarcastic tone. You do not smirk. You do not cross your arms and try to sound tough. You ask it calmly, clearly, and one time. You are not arguing. You are forcing clarity. That clarity is huge for you. If the officer says you are free to leave, you leave. You do not stay to clear things up. You do not keep chatting because you want them to like you. You leave. If the officer says you are being detained, then now you know this is not a friendly talk. It is now an official stop, and your next move changes. Bad way. Most drivers say, "A call about what, officer? I didn't do anything. I was just with my friend, and then I went home." Then they start building the officer's suspicion with extra details. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I being detained, or am I free to leave?" Then the officer has to tell them whether this is a real detention or just pressure. Here's why that works in plain English. Police are allowed to ask questions in lots of situations, but they are not allowed to make every contact feel mandatory if it is not. Your question draws a bright line. If they have enough reason to hold you, they will say so. If they do not, they may try to keep it casual and hope you keep talking anyway. That is where people get cooked. They stay because it feels rude to leave. They answer because silence feels guilty. They guess that cooperating more will make it end faster. Usually it does the opposite. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In simple terms, the law cares about whether a reasonable person would feel free to leave. That is why your question matters so much. It does not magically end every stop. It does something better. It forces the officer to choose a lane. Friendly contact or detention. Voluntary talk or forced stop. Once that lane is clear, your next choices get a lot easier. Watch what happens when you use this right. A vague police contact suddenly becomes specific. If you are free to leave, the pressure is broken. If you are detained, you stop treating the moment like a casual conversation. That shift alone can save you from saying the one sentence you cannot take back later. Have you ever had police ask weird questions without telling you if you actually had to stay? Drop a comment below because that exact confusion is where a lot of people give away their rights. The second tactic is what you say if they claim you are being detained, or if they dodge your question and keep asking things anyway. Here's exactly what you say. "I choose to remain silent." Word for word. You can also say, "I am not answering questions." But the first version is stronger and cleaner. It tells them you are making a choice, not just acting nervous or confused. That matters. Here's the reality. When cops say, "We got a call," they often know very little at first. Maybe they got a complaint. Maybe someone described a person badly. Maybe a neighbor is angry. Maybe the caller was wrong. Maybe the caller lied. The officer may not even know the full story yet. That can help you if you stay quiet. It can destroy you if you start talking. You think you are fixing the misunderstanding, but really you are giving them puzzle pieces to arrange against you. Your location, your mood, your timeline, your words, your corrections. Your guesses, your excuses, those things become evidence fast. Bad way, most drivers say, sure, I'll answer anything. I was just there for 2 minutes, and that guy always lies. Then every answer gives police more threads to pull. Good way, smart drivers say, I choose to remain silent. Then the officer has to work with actual evidence, not a messy roadside story. This is 100% legal. You do not have to answer investigative questions just because police sound confident. If they ask your name in a state where you must identify yourself during a lawful stop, follow your local law on that. But when the questions turn into, what were you doing here? Or why would someone call about you? Or do you have anything illegal on you? You do not fix that by talking. You protect yourself by stopping. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it is simple and clean. It shows you clearly invoked your right instead of mumbling, freezing, or giving half answers. Half answers are dangerous. A full silence, clearly stated, is safer. You are not being rude. You are not being difficult. You are refusing to build a case against yourself with your own mouth. And here is something people get wrong all the time. Silence does not mean acting weird. It does not mean rolling your eyes or refusing lawful instructions. If they tell you where to stand, you stand there. If they tell you to keep your hands visible, you do that. If they tell you not to walk away because you are detained, you comply. But you stop answering questions. That difference matters a lot. Here's the reality. Nervous people talk. Calm people choose. You want to look like someone choosing. That is why the wording matters. I choose to remain silent, short, clear, firm, no speech after it, no because, no but I didn't do anything, just the line. Then quiet. The third tactic is the line that stops police from turning a vague call into a search of your pockets, bag, car, or home. Here's exactly what you say. I do not consent to any searches. Word for word, memorize that line. If you are at your front door and they want to come inside, you can say, I do not consent to entry or any searches. Same idea, same protection. Short words, strong boundary. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of searches do not start with force. They start with pressure, politeness, or fake casual language. Mind if we take a quick look? You don't have anything to hide, right? If everything is fine, you won't mind us checking. That sounds small. It is not small. Once you say yes, you may have just handed them permission they did not have before. And later, that little yes can be way harder to fight than people realize. Bad way. Most drivers say, go ahead, I've got nothing to hide. Then a simple call turns into a full search of places police could not have touched with your no. Good way. Smart drivers say, I do not consent to any searches. Then police have to rely on real legal grounds, not nervous permission. Former police officers have confirmed this works because consent is one of the easiest doors for them to walk through. If you open that door, they do not have to argue much later about how they got in. If you keep that door shut, the whole situation changes. They may still search if they claim another legal reason. Fine. But your job is not to make their job easier. Your job is to protect your space. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent. That does not mean the officer will smile and walk away. Some will keep pushing. Some will repeat the question in softer words. Some will act like only guilty people say no. Ignore that. Innocent people have rights too. Your refusal is not an admission. It is a boundary. There is a huge difference between police searching because the law truly allows it and police searching because you got nervous and said yes. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when officers try to turn a vague contact into something bigger. Your line is not long. It does not need to be. I do not consent to any searches. Then stop talking. The line gets weaker every time you add extra words after it. Do not say, but I promise there's nothing in there. Do not say, my brother uses the car too. Do not say, I mean, unless you really need to. Just the line, nothing else. And if you are at home, this matters even more. The front door is a pressure point. Police love the moment when you crack it open and start talking because people get scared and think they have to let them in. Usually they do not. If they have a warrant, they will say so. If they do not, your no matters a lot. Keep the boundary clear. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of almost everyone the police talk to. Show me by hitting that like button because the next move is what protects you when they keep pressing after your silence and your refusal. The fourth tactic is the closing move when police keep pushing after the call story, after your silence, and after your refusal to consent. Here's exactly what you say. Do you have a warrant or am I free to leave? Word for word. This line is powerful because it covers both settings people get trapped in most. If you are outside, it forces the leave question again. If you are at your door, it forces the warrant question. A warrant is just written permission from a judge. That is the plain English version. If police want to enter your home, search your place, or grab certain things, a warrant is often the thing that separates lawful entry from a fishing trip. So when officers stand there saying, we just need to talk, or we just want to come in for a minute, your answer should not be a nervous story. Your answer should be that question. Bad way. Most drivers say, come in, I can explain everything. Then police step into a place they may never have been able to enter without your permission. Good way. Smart drivers say, do you have a warrant or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to tell you whether they have legal authority or are hoping you fold. This line works because it strips away the fog. Police often win by keeping things vague. A vague call, a vague reason, a vague request, a vague pressure tone. Your job is to make it specific. Warrant or no warrant, detained or free to leave. Search by law or search by your consent. Specific beats vague every time. Watch what happens when you use it right. The conversation stops floating around feelings and moves back to law. That is where you want it. Not because you are trying to play lawyer on the sidewalk, but because clear questions protect regular people from making emotional mistakes. If they say they have a warrant, you do not fight physically. You step aside, stay silent, and call a lawyer as soon as you can. If they do not have one and you are free to leave, the conversation should end. Now let's put the legal side into plain English. Cherry v. Ohio says police can briefly stop you if they have specific facts suggesting crime. Simple version, they need more than a random hunch. That connects directly to, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Because that question forces them to show whether this is a real stop or just pressure. United States v. Mendenhall is one of the big cases about whether a person would feel free to leave. Simple version, if police act in a way that makes a normal person feel they cannot walk away, the law may treat that like a real seizure. Your question brings that issue to the surface fast. Schneckloth v. Bustamonte says consent can make a search lawful. Simple version, if you say yes, you may be giving away one of your best protections. That is exactly why I do not consent to any searches matters so much. These rules all connect. First, find out your status. Second, stop answering questions. Third, refuse consent. Fourth, ask about a warrant if the pressure shifts toward your home or your private space. Now let me show you exactly how this plays out in a real situation. You are standing outside your apartment building at night. Two officers walk up and say, we got a call about a disturbance. The wrong way starts fast. You laugh nervously and say, it wasn't me, I was just upstairs with my cousin, and my neighbor hates me anyway. Now you have placed yourself upstairs, tied yourself to the scene, admitted there is conflict with the neighbor, and started explaining before you even know whether you have to stay. Then the officers ask if they can look inside your apartment to make sure everything is okay. You say yes because you think saying no looks guilty. Now the call has become a search. Now the right way. Same officers, same building, same vague line. You stay calm and ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? If they say you are free to leave, you leave and stop talking. If they say you are detained, you say, I choose to remain silent. If they ask to check your pockets, bag, car, or apartment, you say, I do not consent to any searches. If they keep pressing at your door, you say, do you have a warrant or am I free to leave? That is a completely different outcome. Same night, same call, same officers. But your words stop the whole encounter from expanding through your own panic. That is the point. You are not trying to beat the police with cleverness. You are stopping yourself from helping them by accident. Next video, I'm revealing what to say when police tell you to step outside just for a minute and then start separating you from everyone else. Subscribe so you don't miss it, because that move catches people off guard every single day. So burn these 4 lines into your memory. First, ask if you are being detained or free to leave. Second, if they keep going, say you choose to remain silent. Third, if they want access to your stuff or your space, say you do not consent to any searches. Fourth, if the pressure shifts to your home or private area, ask whether they have a warrant or whether you are free to leave. You do not need to sound smart, you need to sound clear. Hit subscribe so you catch the next video before you need it in real life. Smash that like button if this just gave you a safer plan for your next police encounter. And drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.